Welcome to the latest episode of the ARC Roundtable, the ARC Roundtable, with myself, Nate Williams. We have Spencer, Blake, Zeke, and Chloe. And basically, the format of these types of episodes is this. We'll have a cultural topic that we'll talk about from a biblical and apologetical standpoint. And for today, we are talking about the movie Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery. So it's the third film in the Knives Out series. It's really interesting, and the reason why we picked it for this episode is because of its depiction of the Christian faith. And as y'all know, with Hollywood and mainstream media, the quality and the accuracy can vary. But anyways, I'm glad to have my friends here, glad to talk about this today. Can someone broadly explain the plot of the movie? What is Wake Up Dead Man about? Generally.
Would you like to cook?
Well, oh
wait, you weren't watching. You were on your phone.
No, I watched.
I believe Blake was on his phone most of the time.
I watched. No, but I can tell you the plot easily.
Okay, go for it.
All right.
There's a priest.
Okay.
And he gets not him, the first guy, okay. Judd. Sorry. Yeah. So there's a priest named Judd. He gets sent to go to this other church. I think the church is dying, so they sent like an extra priest to help out. And he's got to figure out why this church is dying. There's the lead priest, his name is Wick, and he's got his flock, as they call it. And pretty much, Wick is just like a cult leader in a sense. They can't really gain any newcomers because Wick is always like just targeting people's like personal sins. Well, eventually, Wick tells the flock one night that he's shutting the doors to the church forever. But before he does, he's going to expose everybody's sin out loud in front of the church. There's also a guy who films every church service who uses it for his own gain. So he'll post it, and that'll be all over the world. But during one particular service, Wick dies.
Real quick, before you continue, there will be spoilers. Just a heads up. I know it's not a movie that's been released like yesterday, but I know it is still a newer movie. But anyways, Blake.
Yeah. So Wick gets killed. We don't know who does it, or we don't know who did it.
Who done it?
Who done it?
Who done it?
That's somebody say.
Who did it? And then at that point in the movie, you start learning about who might have had it out for Wick. There's a lot of character development with other characters. Eventually, towards the end of the movie, we do find out that the real killer was a woman named Martha. A real killer in the sense of she orchestrated a plot to kill Wick because Wick had found out that the priest before Wick, I guess it would have been his father. Grandfather. Yeah. The grandfather to Wick had a jewel that was worth like $80 million. It was called Eve's Apple. And when he took his last communion, what he did is he knew that Eve's Apple, because of how much money it was worth, it was going to cause people to get greedy. And so Martha, this is when she was a little girl, she was with the grandfather priest. When he took his last communion, he swallows the diamond, and she was the only one who knew that, and so
Wick finds out because she confesses it to him, and then once he finds out, he gets greedy and he's going to go take it, and to stop him, she kills him and comes up with a plan to get rid of it. Yeah,
she comes up with a plan to get rid of it, and she needed help from like another. So like she's the orchestrator of the thing, but she didn't actually kill Wick. The person who killed Wick was a doctor named Dr. Nat. He killed Wick, but he also got greedy because Martha kind of told him the reason why. So then he planned to kill Martha. Martha does an old switcheroo, ends up killing him. And yeah, it's one of those. It's like I could literally spend about 30 minutes like explaining the intricate details.
Twists and turns.
Yeah, it's one of those where it's like Martha did it. She was the mastermind behind it, but the way that she made it all play out, I would just highly recommend you just go watch it.
Long story short, it's a murder mystery. Right. The only difference with this one is it has a Christian
undertone
plot.
And I think something important to remember is that it ends with her confessing her sins.
Does. Yes, she does. Yeah.
And the priest forgives her.
Martha does take her own life, so that's why she's confessing. Like, so she confesses because she knows she's dying. Like which is so. Never mind. We'll get into that.
Anyways, we could get into the finer details later.
Before I ask about your thoughts on the movie as a whole, anything else from the plot you want to mention?
Probably when we get into it, it'll come up more.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
I will say
Yeah,
this.
if you've not already jumped off, we already spoiled the whole movie, so I guess it's too late now.
Yes. So okay,
Jesse, we're talking to you.
I will say this. I just want to point out, because my favorite character in that whole movie was Benoit Blanc. Like, I loved him.
Yeah.
He's played by
the detective.
He's the detective.
In all of them.
In all of them, and he's played by the
Daniel Craig.
Yeah, Daniel Craig,
the
James
Bond guy.
Yeah, James Bond guy.
All right, so you have the
his name was
detective.
Bond
He
James.
arrives on the scene and he kind of helps work through all this. And as the plot unfolds, he does help to connect things and all that. Okay. Now, before we talk about the depiction of Christianity, because there are some themes of obviously cultism, greed, maybe Christian nationalism, so on and so forth. There's all that we'll get to. But let's talk about the quality of the movie itself. Now, for this, I'll turn to Spencer. It is a murder mystery, Spencer. How do you think it did on that front?
Personally, I felt like there could have been more fleshed out of like each of the characters, and I didn't like the conclusion, but that's just me.
That's just because he was wrong.
He was just
wrong. To state the facts.
I thought the movie would be smarter in the sense that it wouldn't be like, here's the person, because like she's freaking out. Like, it's obviously like it's gonna be Martha that did something.
So, Spencer, if I could accurately summarize what you've just said, you're like, all right, other than the characters and the plot and the setting and the editing and the music, it was a fantastic movie. Is that accurate?
No.
Okay, all right.
I liked most of it. It's just I didn't like the conclusion that we came to.
He didn't
with
like who the killer
person-
was.
I did not. I think it should have been the son trying to continue a cult, and that should have been his motivation to take his father's life and use like him coming back to life, being raised from the dead as some sort of catalyst to become like the president of the United States or whatever he wanted to be.
So, Spencer, all right, you thought it would have been better to have a different killer, and then you wish that maybe more time was spent developing the individual characters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thoughts, Blake?
Oh, not a thought in his head right now.
Zeke and Chloe, what are y'all's thoughts on the quality of the movie itself? Zeke?
Overall movie, non-faith related. I think it was. That's so hard to take the faith part out of it because that's literally the theme of the movie. But I thought it was good. Could they have developed characters more? Yeah, but it was already 2 hours long. You got to cut things at some point. So yeah, overall, it was a good movie.
Maybe the only way to do that is to turn it into some sort of TV show where you have development
been
over many
interesting.
hours.
that would have been cool.
That'd been tough.
But okay.
Yeah, Blake never would have watched it.
Gotcha. Spencer?
So, one big gripe that I had that I did not like at all was the fact that she switched the cups with the coffee. I felt like that was super
she is
Yeah,
so
he
mad about
did
that.
not like
it
that.
was so
He doesn't
plot
like
armoring.
women being smart and thinking ahead.
No,
So we're not a fan of women, Spencer?
But it made perfect
But
sense.
it made sense why she did that, because it was her idea
it
to
was
spike
plot.
his drink.
It was
No, it wasn't.
No,
Well, she
didn't.
found out that the other guy in it was dead, so she knew that the only other person in it
No, guys,
She
guys, remember,
was going
in the
after
very
her.
beginning, what does he do? Like, it was her idea to get rid of Wicks, right?
Yeah.
So then how did they get rid of Wicks? Well, one, he has to drink something. She knew that the probate, whatever, the tranquilizer drug, she knew that it was going to be in the flask. So it would make sense that when he got, like, the fact that when she found out that he murdered Samson, well, she's like, oh, I know he's gunning for me next. So then it's like, oh, he's either going to spike something or do something. She already knows that this guy's messed with poison before. This is his is modus operandi.
I mean, he's a doctor.
That
But
makes sense why
to
she
Spencer,
swapped it.
she's not smart enough to do that, though.
Spencer was
It was
just mad
plot
because she was
armor.
a
Women are not smart.
no. Spencer was mad because it was a
Yes,
frail
that's exactly what
old
I'm
woman,
saying.
and I'm like, bro, this is like classic true crime.
So, Spencer, your problem will be not necessarily that she's a woman, which we joke about. It's more, was it cliche? It was kind of
Yeah, it
corny.
was plot armor. It was
No,
just
because
like,
if you would have
it
guessed it
protected
right,
her.
you would have guessed it right, you would have loved it.
Spencer and Blake, can you share some of the background about predicting who the killer was?
Oh, dude, I nailed
Bets
it.
won
bro.
or lost.
Yeah,
Blake did nail it.
pretty much nailed it. He even guessed the second person in on it.
Okay.
He said that Martha was going to be the orchestrator and that Dr. Knight was going to be the killer. And he was right.
That's pretty solid. Was this before or after he guessed every character?
This was when there was an hour left in the movie, so
Okay, all
You
right.
made a few
after
guesses.
maybe.
I made a few
Yes.
guesses prior, but then it
Just for
started.
fun.
But then it started making sense.
Hey,
so.
but
Yeah.
Blake, not to jump on the Mike Winger kind of accusing and exposing some Pentecostal circles, but what it sounds like is you would be a great prophet for Bethel.
Yeah.
In how you predict a lot of things, and if just a couple come true, you're good.
Isn't
good.
Isn't that the gift of prophecy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shoot, dude, give me a mic and a camera.
You just got to bat,
I'll
100,
get-
200.
Dude, I'll get. All right, so this is what we'll do to make money, guys. I will guess the next president for this upcoming election, but give me like all the candidates, and I'll say that they're running for president, and we'll film it ahead of time,
Yes.
and then we'll post.
After. Yeah.
After.
Good idea.
I like it.
Yeah.
So we'll move now towards the faith element. Like I said, when Hollywood depicts...
Wait, what about you? You watched it, right?
I did.
What did you think of the movie minus the faith element?
I thought I'm going to actually go in the opposite of the Spencer direction. I thought the movie could have been shorter.
Oh.
Really?
So
Fair enough.
It was really long.
it got to the point where I'm like, all right, let's just get
Are
to
you
it.
kidding me?
Yes.
You
Yep.
thought the movie could have been shorter.
Yes.
This is coming from the same guy when we went and watched Dune 2.
Dune wasn't long enough.
That thing was 3 hours and 30
Should have been
minutes.
longer.
Brother, they could have cut out so much, and that movie
Not a
would have made
single
more
thing.
sense. You're telling me, so you wanted the uncle and nephew kissing scene?
I didn't want them to
Oh,
do
but that
anything.
was that important to the plot?
I didn't want them to do. And turns out it wasn't even in the plot.
No,
that
they
was just
just did
added
it.
on the spot.
That's crazy, and they
even
kept it
worse.
in.
Yes, it should have been a
You
longer movie.
thought
The kiss should have been longer. It's what
They
he's
should
trying to
have
get
kissed
at.
more times.
Anyways, Dune is a masterpiece. I will take no slander. But for this movie, I did think, okay, it was dragging here and there. But overall, I thought it was very good. And Spencer, what I'll say to one of your other points is inherent in these types of movies, there is going to be a little bit of cheesiness. You know,
wasn't
just
cheesy at all.
the murder mystery. Some of it's cliche at parts.
Some of it.
Some of it is.
It was better than the second one. The second one I feel like was very cheesy.
Yeah, and I not to attack your guy. What's his name? The
Benoit
detective's name?
Blanc.
Oh,
Blanc.
Benoit Blanc, yeah.
His accent is really
It's
bad.
like
Dude, it's
David
David
Beauregard.
Beauregard.
It's really
It
bad.
Hey,
sounds
oh.
like Andy Bernard in
nobody
the
knows
murder
David
mystery episode when they're like
Wait,
when
who's
they're
Dave-
distracting
who's David
themselves from the
Beauregard?
company being shut down.
Yeah.
You just said his name, David
I
Beauregard.
just thought that was a made up name.
Oh
That's a
yeah, no,
person.
no. So so let me explain this to our listeners. David Beauregard is someone that Justin came up with. It's like
Okay,
one of his
so that's
characters.
what I'm saying.
Yeah. And Benoit Blanc
Sounds like him.
sounds. I mean, when
Just
when
like-
Justin came up with his character, it is like I'm from the hills of Mississippi. Justin used to say, "It's like
Turning from the quality of the movie to the faith part of the movie, what did y'all think of its depiction of the Christian faith? Now, I do know it's the Catholic Church, sure, so we are Protestants. But overall, how do y'all think it depicted our faith?
I think me and Zeke kind of agreed last night that it had more of a Protestant feel to it rather than a Catholic feel. Like, yeah, it was depicted in a Catholic church, but a lot of the things that they were talking about lines up more with the Protestant kind of view a little bit, especially a lot of the parts when they talked about Jesus.
Okay. So you're
It's very
saying
Protestant friendly
Yeah,
Very
for the most
Protestant
part.
friendly.
It wasn't It wasn't heavy on the Catholicism part.
No.
maybe didn't emphasize some Catholic terminology, stuff like that. Okay.
I thought that overall it did a really good job showing the power of forgiveness and the power of confession. And so overall, I think it did pretty good. My only complaint would be that it had the two extremes of being full of truth, which is Wicks, and then full
You
of
mean-
grace,
Oh yeah.
and then full of grace, which is Judd. And that's good, but also like we need a mix as Christians, like we need to be a mixture of grace and truth, to where we're not so truthful that we're mean and arrogant about it, but not so graceful that we're just letting people do whatever sins they want and saying, oh, you're going to get forgiveness, but somewhere just kind of in the middle.
I think that's fair. Spencer, any thoughts related to the depiction of Christianity?
I think I really liked Judd's testimony. I felt like that was relatable to more people than not, because most times you hear a testimony, it's like, well, I was doing all these sinful things, and then God took hold of my life, and I've never looked back. There's nothing I've never gone back to anything I've ever done. But he was just more like, Jesus came to me and saved me, but it wasn't like instantaneous like life change, but it's a consistent sustainment of my life. It's my daily bread. I feel like that's more realistic to it.
Well, and to give some details, sorry, before you cook on your next topic.
My hand,
my
hand raising
the details of his testimony is he was a boxer. He killed a man in the ring, and he's like, Christ saved me from that, and like I killed him with a hatred in my heart, but Christ brought me out of that, and over time he's sanctifying me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And that's the one thing I really wanted to point out was like the fact that it talked about the sanctification, because there were moments in the movie where you would see Judd kind of resort back to like that anger. Especially there was one part where like Wicks, Judd was confessing to Wicks about something, and Wicks, like, he made Wicks mad because he was pretty much just calling him out. Essentially, he's like, you're a bad shepherd and your flock is hurting and you're not doing anything to help them. And so Wicks started
he gut
punched him and just started kicking him, and then it kicked Judd's fight or flight back in, and he wanted to fight Wicks. And Wicks was like, see, it's still like within you. It just did a good job of showing that we are saved, and but sin still does crouch at the door. It's not one of those movie tropes where it's like you get saved and then you're just perfect at that point. Like you could still see that he struggled with sanctification, like he was walking it out. I thought that was really cool.
I'm not a Catholic, but
you're not,
at least a Roman Catholic. But do you think that kind of church would be allowed to be a part of the Roman Catholic Church? Like, because it was a cult for what it was. Like, he was basically a cult leader.
Are you saying would the Catholic Church allow it?
Yeah, like would they kicked him out? Because it sounded like that they had sent multiple priests like that were, because it starts out the movie, Judd punches deacon. And so they're like, as punishment, you're going to go to this church. And it sounds like they've sent people there before. So they know what's going on there.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm not sure. I think if it went on long enough, they would step in. But if he is trying to keep things under wraps about his bigger, larger plan, I think he might be able to get away with it for a time. I don't imagine that they would allow someone like that to preach indefinitely when it comes to the, let's go and take over the country type talk. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it was all over the internet, though. Like,
yeah.
That one, Cy was posting every single thing that he said.
Sure, but I think all of that, correct me if I'm wrong, was more recent, newer kind of guys he was drawing in. Now, he was a terrible priest before that, because that was his general style. But as y'all know, in whether personal experience or stories, sometimes bad pastors can stay for a while at a church before something happens. But yeah, ultimately, I don't think they would have let that go on indefinitely. Chloe?
Yeah, just kind of going off what Blake said, kind of how, like, showing that Judd is not perfect in any way. Something that I think I wasn't expecting when I watched it the first time was I wasn't expecting Judd to be someone, who cusses. Like, he did cuss quite a few times during the movie, and that's not usually something you would expect from a priest, Like, and even after he would do it, he'd be like, oh, sorry. Like, so he would kind of know. So, like, what do y'all think about that? Like, is that something to be like, oh, that's good that they showed that, like, sanctification's a process? Or should they have been more like, oh, he doesn't cuss, he lives a cleaner life? What do y'all think?
I think it was smart because it does show him walking out his faith. And I'm just going to be honest, like, I'm not calling anybody out, not name dropping anything like that, but I know of people who do hold positions in churches, like very high positions, who, not that it's part of their vocabulary, but they let one slip a couple times. And to me, it's just like, yeah, when you are, we're so quick to hold them to such a high standard because, I mean, they are held, like, they are responsible, they are the shepherds and stuff like that. But at the same time, we are human. And as much as we want to be like Christ, we will never be. That's why Christ saves us on our behalf. Like, he picks up the parts that we can't. And so I thought that was really cool because it does show, like, it's not that he's just cussing and he's not remorseful. It's like you do see that process where he's like, oh, no, I am held to a high standard. Had a moment of not relapse. I lapsed in that moment. Let me get back on and, like, let me get back on the straight and narrow. So I thought that was really cool. To me, that's like, it's more realistic.
Yeah.
Now, going and talking about Wicks and Christian nationalism. So there is a version of Christian nationalism, which is like kind of his character. Hey, we're going to raise a lot of money. We're going to use social media, so on and so forth. And we are going to take back the country. We're going to fix things. We're going to force things to be the way that we want them to be because our vision of the world is better. And we're just going to make it happen by force. Do y'all think his character was a Hollywood caricature of really fundamentalist type Christian nationalists? Or is this a growing or major problem and it's in a lot of churches with a lot of people who think that way? What do y'all think? Caricature or like, whoa, this is a major problem in Christianity?
I really think it was a major problem.
Okay.
Because to me, like a caricature would be like more over the top. The fact that when you do listen to some of his sermons, like I caught myself like listening, I was like, that actually could just be a regular sermon. Like you could fool me. Like if you just took that snippet and told me, hey, listen to this preacher, it wouldn't sound like a Hollywood script. Like that genuinely sounds like how some preachers talk. And so to me, it was that's what I thought was really cool. It didn't like over dramatize. Like it sounded like they literally went and listened to some of these preachers that we have out there, and they're just like, well, we're just gonna preach that same message. And it was more legal. I will say this: it was more like legalistic, the legalism kind of thing. Like, you're filthy, like the classic hellfire, brimstone. There's no hope unless you have Jesus. But it's so focused on.
Well, he didn't. But we never even heard him mention. I don't even know if he ever said the word.
He never
the name Jesus.
And that
he may have. I just don't remember.
And that was the part that I don't think he ever like. There was more like judgment, and there was no grace. And I think that's what Judd got so angry about, because it's like you're making these people. It's just judgment. Like God's going to come back with a vengeance. God's like, but where's the grace? Where's the saving aspect? Like you're missing that. And I think that's the biggest problem with a lot of churches nowadays is there's not the grace element. And some of not saying that every church, I think, regardless, just to your original question, it's like, I don't think it was a caricature. I think this was actually like a model of some of the churches that we have today.
Okay. What about Spencer, Zeke, Chloe? What are y'all's thoughts? Was his characters like, wow, we have a lot of preachers and Christians like that? Or was it kind of a caricature made by Hollywood?
I think he was a pretty good depiction of some of these like popular guys like Mark Driscoll.
Yeah,
that's what he really reminded me of. Is that, and one thing I noticed about his character too, that I don't know if this is like what the movie was going for, but we watched it with captions on, and I noticed that every time that he would say, like when he was preaching and he was basically talking about his plans, and he would say like his son, it was capitalized H and S. So I think he was like, when he was trying to allude to Jesus or like play off that he was alluding to Jesus, he was alluding to himself, which was pretty interesting. And I don't know if that's exactly like when that was supposed to be going on, but I thought it was pretty interesting. But yeah, I just think he really relates more to some people that we see in mainstream media. I don't know if it's like every small town has somebody like that, but a lot of people with a lot of influence are like him.
To me, he kind of reminded me of, I mean, I have never had a preacher like that was all fire and brimstone, but he kind of reminded me of, like, when I would be at UAB and there'd be a guy that had, like, one of those giant signs that was, like, if you don't repent, you're going to hell, and he'd be yelling at everybody.
Wasn't that Nate?
Oh, yeah.
That was me. I'm sorry.
Like, if someone ever tried to, like, talk to him, he would immediately be like, no, like, you're going to hell for doing this, for wearing this, for believing in this.
Yeah. All right.
I think.
What do you think, Zeke?
I don't think it's as prevalent as we think it is, but it is a it does happen. I agree with y'all. It is. There are people like Mark Driscoll who are like that. I think the problem today is we just hear about those because they get popular, because it gets clicks. We don't hear about the small town pastor who never gets any recognition for 60 years and is, shepherding faithfully. There's probably more of them. We just will never hear about them on this side of eternity.
Right.
I think that's a great point that we all need to remember. I know that sometimes it gets discouraging, particularly when there are scandals in the Christian sphere. But do know that there are so many pastors out there, maybe bivocational, maybe just pastors of small churches or whatever. You're not going to know about them. They're not going to have a major online presence. Their sermons aren't going to be spread everywhere. But lots and lots of faithful preachers out there. And so it can be discouraging, depending on how much media you consume and the movies you watch. You think, oh, everyone is like Wicks, or he is like so many people out there. I think I'd agree that there are people out there like him. But yes, maybe not as prevalent as potentially shown in movies and stuff like that. Now, let's talk about Judd, the other priest. Y'all have already mentioned sanctification, his journey, his trials and struggles. So I think they did that well. Do you think he is more like your average pastor you'd run into? How do you think it is? Do they caricature what a godly and good pastor should be, or what do y'all think? Ask the same question of Judd. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think he was more of a not caricature. I could be. I think he was more. Actually, yeah, I think he was more of a caricature of a young Christian.
Okay.
Yeah, I get it. He's in a priestly role in Catholicism, but I think they did a really good job of making him look like a younger, maybe more into his walk kind of priest, like a priest who just who's like just starting out.
Okay.
And so he's still kind of rough around the edges, but he has the main idea of everything. But he's still got to work out these little tidbits, which is why he wasn't the main guy. He really was just like an assistant. Yeah. So.
What did y'all think about the younger guy, the good priest? Did they caricature what they think a godly and good priest should be, or was it pretty accurate to maybe your average pastor or priest?
Yeah, that's one. I don't know why that one's a little bit harder. I lean towards caricature because there's some things I disagreed with him on, but I don't know. What do y'all think?
I think what makes it tough is the fact that he was in a priestly role.
Yeah.
Because the way he acts is what we see with like newer Christians.
Yeah, if you just said, does he portray a Christian fairly well, I'd say, yeah, he does a pretty good job with that. But priest, yeah, I don't know. That's a little bit harder.
I will say this. The one scene that he takes the time to talk to that woman on the phone.
That
was the most realistic.
That was one of the most powerful scenes in the movie, in my opinion, because it kind of takes him out of all that's going on in his life, all the craziness, and this is my calling. And I think that scene and the last scene where he's holding Martha and he's telling her, "Hey, you're forgiven." Like those two scenes were pretty powerful in showing that he was a priest. But I do agree with you guys that he kind of might be a more younger.
I think the movie kind of portrayed him growing into the role that he has, like, throughout it. That's why, like, at the end of it, he asks Blanc, like, whenever he's with Martha at the end, he's like, "What I do?" He's like, "Your job. Like, what you're here for, yada, yada, yada." But, yeah, to Chloe's point, I think that scene's probably the most realistic, pastoral. Like, I'm surprised they got that well. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, whenever the lady calls him up and he's trying to get details, like, "Hey, I really need this," and she's like, "Can you pray for me?" And then he spends like hours with her on the phone.
"Oh yeah,
like,
that's my job."
Like that is probably true to life, is it not?
And also, like, they didn't have to put that scene in there. Yeah. They honestly could have left it out, but they showed that to be like, "Oh yeah, he's a priest too."
I thought that was probably my favorite part of the movie right there, the most accurate to pastoral ministry. So I'm glad y'all brought that up. Before we head off for today, any thoughts overall? Anything else you want to share? It could be about the Knives Out series, about this movie itself. Anything else come to mind?
If you haven't seen the first two, Watch those as well.
Watch those.
They're all really
No.
They're all really good, especially the first one.
I
So-
think something I was if I had to give some more critiques, I would probably be more theologically like I give it a little bit more grace. So Benoit Blanc, whenever he's like trying to portray Christianity, he gets so close, but he doesn't do a great job of it. Like he's like, it's a story of a fallible man, yada yada. I'm like, well, Christ wasn't fallible, like, but he's stuff like that, or like where, obviously we're Protestants, so I don't. Even though at the end he's like, I forgive you. It's like, well, really, God forgives you. Like, that's the important part. So little stuff like that. But obviously it's Catholic, so they're going to get some stuff that I'm not going to agree with. But overall, I think they did
I
well
think,
job.
yeah. For a mainstream movie, I think the theology was about as good as you could hope.
I don't think we mentioned it, but the director isn't Christian.
He grew up Christian though, but
But he's not
anymore.
currently
Yeah.
like a practicing Christian or anything. So
And so whenever a movie doesn't absolutely butcher what we believe, maybe my standards are so low, I'm like, whoa, hey, this wasn't terrible.
I got some questions for you that I asked them, so I already have their answers. So what do you think of how they portrayed the atheists? Benoit Blanc and the sheriff were the only two that were like openly anti-church. Her was more like, I just don't believe in it, whatever. He was pretty more open, like, yeah, I don't believe in all this myth stuff, yada, yada, yada. What do you think about his character?
It was tough for me to get past the accent, but I think that as far as him being kind of that 2000s new atheist mold about, a rationalist, I follow the science and logic and reason, and there's always an explanation for everything. I thought it was fairly accurate. But one thing I enjoy, despite that, and despite him being that atheist type, he also had a soft spot too. So they didn't caricature him the other way.
Yeah.
Where, yes, he had the quips and the comments there, here and there, which is fine. But also he had a soft spot for the young priest, trying to help him to do his job. He recognizes, and this is where a lot of people fall today, more and more, like, I might not obey Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. I don't want to do that. I don't believe that. But I recognize the role that religion plays in helping people through life, and there's value in that. So I think that they did a good job of balancing him a bit. They didn't have to do that.
Yeah, and just to add on about his character, I think the only thing that would have made the movie so much better is if they would have had that scene where he looks up into the light and he's like, road to Damascus, and he became a Christian right there.
Yes,
Gonna
that.
happen.
But yes, one, that would have been great. But two, that would have turned it into. Did y'all ever watch the God's Not Dead movies?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
You get some of that as well. So while I'm all for it, yeah, we live and
It was
learn.
really deep and powerful when I was
I-
like 13.
Remember, text everyone that God's
God's
not
not
dead at the end of those movies.
I really liked Benoit Blanc's character. Like, I thought, I think this is the theater side coming out of me. I think the character choice and everything was like pretty cool. One of my favorite scenes, and I think it might have went under the radar for some people, but there was a part where Benoit is like talking about, I think he's talking about like the murder itself, because what the way that the murder's shaping out is it looks like Wicks comes back from the dead and kills somebody, and like he kills Dr. Nat, which we know it wasn't. It was all just a ruse. Martha wanted to make it look like Wicks came back from the dead, so its murder would be like divine. Like there's no way you could solve it. Yeah. So, but there's a part where Benoit is describing the murder, and then he kind of talks about the gospel, and he talks about Jesus being a fallible man.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah. And so that I really enjoyed that scene in particular, just because I think what it really shows is like, I think it delved into like the atheist understanding of things, where it shows like Benoit Blanc is tracking, like he so could be a Christian. He's so tracking, but you can see the gaps in his understanding and the gaps in his theology, like saying Jesus was a fallible man. And it's like, to me, that's such a cool little, to me, that's cool writing, because it shows like as cool as Benoit Blanc's character is, he is an atheist, and you can see the gaps in his logic and his reasoning for the evidence of Christ. I thought that was really, really cool. I thought that was interesting writing.
Another scene I liked with him was when he first met Judd at the start. He goes on that little spiel of like, oh, I don't believe in all this mumbo jumbo, and he's pretty elegant and nice about it. But then he's probably like, you probably want me to leave here. He's like, no, I appreciate the honesty. And I was like, I don't know. I really like that as from the Christian perspective of like, I don't need to be offended because you don't believe what I believe. I want you to, but you're not hurting me. You're hurting yourself. Like this is going to sound silly and stupid. Y'all can probably make fun of us for it, but we were playing Rocket League the other night. Yeah. And every team we played against, we were like, hey, are you Christian? If not, you want to be? And one guy was like, absolutely not. I have no interest in that. I was like, and he's like, I have no interest. Sorry. I was like, no problem. Thanks for the honesty. We moved on, kept playing. Yeah. But like, I think there's just something too where I don't need to be defensive. Christ can defend himself at the end of the time, you know?
Yeah. I think people need to understand too, like just speaking about all that, just evangelizing and stuff like that. But what Judd does in that movie is honestly what a lot of Christians would do today. In all honesty, I think.
What do you mean?
Just, you know, like when someone gives their opinion about something, everybody thinks that a Christian's going to be like, well, you're going to go to hell. You know, just like kind of like brush them off. But I think Judd's response is how a lot of Christians would actually respond today. Like when someone tells me they don't know Christ, like, yeah, there's a part of me that does hurt.
I hurt for them, but
yeah,
I'm not
it hurts
mad.
for them. But I'm not upset because you don't believe. To me, I'm more grateful that you were open and honest to share that with me, because that shows, like, I don't know. To me, it's like I want a relationship. Like,
well, for me, it shows like if you can be honest about that, hopefully one day, if you really do understand the gospel, you can be honest and say, hey, this is actually true. I need to do something about it.
Right.
I'm hoping.
Yeah. I think for a lot of Christians is we just, especially in a world where it's like relationships just don't really exist. Everything's like just so like on to the next, like swipe left, swipe right. I'm not talking about romantic relationships. I'm just talking about
in general.
In general, I think as Christians, even if we can get an atheist to talk to us and not just them like be like an echo chamber, but to say like, I don't believe because this happened in my life, or I'm just going through this. Like, yeah, you may not believe in Christ now, but I'm grateful that me and you can just even have a relationship, and we can just talk about these things, because whether you believe or don't believe, we both go through something like this in life, and to know that you're not alone, even if you don't believe in God, I'm right here walking beside you. So.
Did y'all have something else? I had another question. We talked about this one last night, so y'all can give your opinion publicly now. Okay. But all right, sorry, I'm taking the show. I'm hosting now. I got too many good questions.
Welcome to Zeke's.
Welcome to the ZA podcast. Or ZA.
The ZA, dude. Welcome to the ZA.
So, question I asked them is, if you have a non-Christian friend watching this, or just anyone watching this, how could they walk away with this understanding the gospel? If so, how much of it, to what percent did they get the gospel in this movie? If at all. It could be zero. Y'all can answer too.
Spencer seems to have some thoughts.
I've already answered it.
The world must know your answer.
I would say they would have a good basis of like what a Christian could look like and like all that kind of stuff, but they wouldn't have a full understanding of what it means to actually like convert. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just with Spencer. I think they could walk away with bits and parts, but I think it would be up to us to kind of explain the rest of it to them.
I think it goes back to what I said in the beginning, how there's two extremes. Like, I think they would totally understand that there's grace and forgiveness, but they might need to hear you're sinful too, and you need to change some things in your life. But you don't get cleaned up and then go to God. You go to God and let Him clean you up.
No, clean. You get healthy, then you go to the doctor.
Yeah, exactly. Like you don't want to get completely healthy and then go to the doctor. That wouldn't make sense.
Yeah,
I think that's a good point. You could get glimpses and pieces, like Spencer said, but in terms of just a full gospel presentation, the fact that yes, we are all sinners, for all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, you'd have to fill in the gaps. But I think it would be a promising conversation starter.
Remind me after a podcast. I want to talk to you about Nineveh then.
Okay.
Let's see. All right. Any other questions you got before we close up?
You're running.
I know. I'm asking you.
This is the ZA.
Should I have more questions?
Okay. Last question. You already asked, like, what do we think of the movie without the Christianity? I asked y'all this already, so I know y'all's answers. Overall, what's our rating from 0 to 10 of just the movie, everything included?
8.3.
Okay.
Let me give it a solid 9.
8.5.
I'm probably gonna go with 7.
I think I'll stick with an 8.
Right, so we're in the ballpark.
So we'd all recommend someone else go
Really
see
didn't
it.
like his accent.
Yeah, that's what's getting it for it.
That
It would have been a 10 without
would-
that.
That's crazy, dude. The accent was good.
Coming from this guy.
The accent
Yeah,
was
come on.
not good.
Coming from you, dude.
That accent was not good. But all right, Blake, do you
Well,
want to
guys.
take us home?
Oh, go ahead, Spencer.
Beep, ba, doo, lap, dee, dap, doo.
Oh,
That was not it.
butchered it, bro.
Come
He's
on,
never
Blake.
actually
Do
heard
it
it.
again.
Beep, bop, leave a lava, beep, bop, boo.
I only hear it from
Yeah, he's never heard the actual sound.
No, he hasn't.
He just knows that you're daddy.
You know what?
Yeah.
would be
Oh, what's my name?
interesting? We used to have my
What's my
brother.
name?
Podcast is over.
No, what's my name?
Daddy.
Yes.